Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. And the Saints and Chargers are out on the practice field right now. And where are they exactly? Sean Fazan let me know earlier. They are in Costa Mesa. That does nothing for me, but that's where they are. And I'm reading Sean Fazan's tweets, and he hasn't had any negative tweets, so I don't know if he's cherry-picking positive plays or this is just what's happening out there. But if you listen to our interview yesterday with Luke Johnson from The Advocate on the Saints, he was just glowing about the Saints' defense yesterday and their performance against Los Angeles in the joint practice. Said the defensive front was great. They had, Debo was fantastic on the outside, so was Alontae Taylor. He just said it was a fantastic effort by the Saints defense, basically from start to finish. And today I'm reading Sean Fazan's Twitter account as they continue to go on. He says, Carr to Olave again on a bootleg drag. Carr threw a dime to Juwan Johnson on a slot fade for a touchdown. Another dime. Carr to Kamara, wheel route touchdown. Kamara somehow just got matched up on Bosa. And these are, I'm not cherry-picking tweets. These are all the tweets he's got about practice, and it sounds like the Saints are cooking there. Now, that's obviously a red zone period if you're throwing back-to-back touchdown passes like that. But it just feels like the Saints are having a really competitive practice that's yielding some positive results for the black and gold as they face what should be a good team. I'm not here to tell you that I'm an expert on what the Los Angeles Chargers are going to look like this year, but they've had a solid club the last couple of years. Herbert is back and is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the game, and it seems like a lot is going well for the Saints in these competitive practices. And we know, based on what Hester has told us, based on what the beat writers over there have told us, that these are going to show you a little bit more than the game. The coaching staff is far more willing in these joint practices to open up the playbook because it's not on tape for the other 28 teams to see. They're just far more willing to play the way they're going to play in the regular season outside of hitting the quarterback. You get into preseason, into the games that are on television, you've got a lot of guys that aren't going to make the team out there. All that tape is available to all the other teams, so you're not going to show everything that you've got. And so it's not quite as good a look as the practices will be, and it seems like the practices have been very positive for New Orleans thus far. So I'm not certain what the playing time is going to look like for the starters coming up on Sunday. All I can go on is last year. We all kind of had a pretty good preseason cadence, right? Starters, not much, if anything, in game one, maybe a drive. Game two, you might get 2 drives. Game 3, you were going to see the starters for maybe a half, and then game 4, maybe none. That's kind of what it was in the 4-game preseason. Well, they shuffled that. You added a game to the regular season. You took one away from the preseason. So what does week 2 now look like? We don't have a large sample size on this. I do have, however, last year. And last year, the Saints' second preseason game was against Green Bay up in Wisconsin. Ian Book played every offensive snap. No Jameis, no Dalton. It was Ian Book all the way. Jordan Love and Danny Etling, former Tiger, played every snap for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers did not play a snap. So, if that's what I have to work off of, then I would imagine that you're not going to see Derek Carr tomorrow. You're going to see him getting some really good work this week on Thursday, some really good work today on Friday, then throw on some gym shorts and a T-shirt, grab a headset, and come on into SoFi. That's what it feels like is going to happen. So the question is, what can you, the viewer, what can you, the fan, look for in this game? And I think mostly it's going to be kind of the bottom of the roster, like who can make that last 53. And it's tough for us here in Baton Rouge, especially on this channel, to truly take a lot and form an opinion on who's going to be the last few guys on the Saints roster, because we're never at practice. Like, the Saints are practicing while I'm on the air all the time. I don't think there's anybody at this station that's gone down there. We're fully relying on beat writers and local TV guys to give us the information. But if you take that information and kind of mold it into your own, I really think this would have been a big opportunity for Kirk Merritt. You look at all the running back injuries and the issues that the Saints have had at that position. Merritt converted from wide receiver to running back. Maybe he's a guy who could have made the team, especially for the first 3 weeks, and then he gets hurt. So that's off the table. Calvin Throckmorton has been a valuable interior offensive line piece for the Saints. And they've had tons of injuries. You've had Pete go down with his usual couple injuries a year, and Throckmorton's kind of generally a guy that he'll go in there. But maybe he's playing for his job this weekend because you drafted Nick Saldiveri and everybody thinks that he's going to make the team. And with McCoy and Ruiz and Pete, Saldiveri, you're running out of room on the interior there. So this is probably a big week for Calvin Throckmorton to get some things done. Traquan Smith. That receiver room is too loaded. I'm sorry, it's too loaded. I've kind of lost hope with Jonte Kirkland making the team, even though I think that's a great story. And we talked about him extensively on this show, saying, man, what a team guy. What a great athlete. What a cool story. From the River Parishes, playing for the hometown team, getting an opportunity. But you start to look around, and as I say, when I'm watching the highlights of the game last weekend, and you know that the ones are out there and Carr's out there, and you see Michael Thomas make a catch, and Chris Olave's rolling, and Alvin Kamara catches the screen, oh, these are the starters. Here's some. This is the number one unit for the Saints. Touchdown, Keith Kirkwood, huh? That's how deep the wide receiver room is. And Traquan Smith has basically carved out a niche as the blocking wide receiver for the Saints. Obviously, you need wide receivers to get physical on the edge and block, especially if you're going to involve Alvin Kamara in the screen game. But is that enough to keep you on the team? I don't know. A.T. Perry is really talented. Keith Kirkwood had a touchdown. Olave is there. Thomas is there. Shaheed is there. And then you're keeping 4 tight ends. Taysom, Jimmy, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau. I'm running out of roster spots for pass catchers. And if I'm starting to tick boxes, and the one that I've got to tick for Traquan is blocking wide receiver, I start to go, well, would I rather have the explosive ability of A.T. Perry? I know what Traquan Smith is, and I know what he's not. He's not a 1 or 2 in the NFL. I don't know what A.T. Perry is. We don't have the ceiling on him yet. We have it on Traquan. We've got 3 years of sample size. But with Perry, it's a little more intoxicating. Now, there's practice squad spots, and you can massage this thing a couple of different ways. But if I was Traquan Smith, I'd go out there and make some plays. Not blocking either, with my hands. And then you look at a guy like Anthony Orji, who apparently, according to Pro Football Focus, graded out unbelievably on Sunday, but wasn't necessarily stuff in the stat sheet. The Saints have made an addition with Jalen Smith, and he's going to be a guy. So the linebacker spot isn't as dire as it was 8 days ago. But Orji's a potential helper on this team. He was so productive at Vanderbilt. Is he playing for his job in this game? I think it's possible. Again, if you're locking in expecting to see a bunch of Derek Carr and Kamara and what's Jimmy Graham got and Michael Thomas and, is DeMario back? And this is based on what Allen did last year. That's not the story of this preseason game. The story of this preseason game is who's going to make the roster, who's going to be on the practice squad, and who's going to get cut and have to pick up the phone and talk to the Panthers or the Dolphins next week. That's kind of where you are in this preseason. So I will be watching. My cable will allow me to watch the full game on Sunday, which I fully plan to do. But I don't think it's going to be what we're used to as far as Game 2 preseason, or especially what was Game 3 of the preseason. I think it's going to be far less intensive for the starters. Got another tweet here from Sean Fazan to kind of stick with the Saints here before we close out hour number 1. I said 2-minute drill was not as smooth as yesterday for the Saints offense, but overall a better day from them today than yesterday. So that's interesting as I read that, because we talked exclusively defense with Luke yesterday, and he glowed. Apparently the offense not quite as productive, but still sounds like a solid go for the Saints thus far. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.